right, hey guys, today we are going to learn how to simplify radicals that have variables in them. So we already learned how to simplify something like this. Today we're going to learn how to simplify it if it has a number and if it has a variable in it. All right, so some quick reminders before we get going. Remember when you were working with square roots, like let's look at this first one, you can split the square root of 8 up and rewrite it as the square root of 4 times 2. Something like that. You can even split it up further. You can rewrite it like this, the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. These are all equal to each other, but just a quick reminder, you can split it up. Second thing we need to do a quick refresher on is your laws of exponents. So if I have 4 to the third times 4 to the third, that's the same as saying 4 to the 6th. So just as a quick refresher, you add those exponents. Okay, and then the next one, the square root of 9 squared. So think to yourself, well, if I did 9 squared, that would be 81. The square root of 81 is 9. So when I square something and then square root it, I just end up with this same number that's inside there. Okay, so that would apply to this one down here. If I squared a number and then I square rooted it, this would basically kind of cancel each other. Those are inverse operations, and I would just be left with x. Okay, so we're going to use all of those things when we are working with variables today. All right, let me show you a couple pretty simple ones then. So if I was going to ask you the square root of x to the 4th, you need to think in your head, what times what is x to the 4th? And remember, this has to be the same number. Okay, so I'm going to think in my head, well, x squared times x squared, if I use my laws of exponents, that does equal x to the 4th. So the answer to this is x squared. Okay, same thing down here. What times what is x to the 6th? Well, x cubed times x cubed gives me x to the 6th. So the square root of x to the 6th is just one of those, so x cubed. And then finally, x to the 8th, x to the 4th times x to the 4th. Remember, it has to be the same number as x to the 8th. So the final answer to the square root of it is just x to the 4th. Now, hopefully you saw a little trick that is going to end up helping you, is you can divide these by 2. Okay, so what happens if it's not an even number like that? What if it's like x to the 9th? Well, I'm going to show you what you can do in the next example. Okay, well, how about one like this? 75x cubed. All right, I'll show you how I would do this one. So I'm going to start by breaking it up. Okay, so 75, I can break that up. A perfect square that goes into 75 is 25 times 3. Okay, and now when you have a variable like this, I'm going to break this up into ones that I can do the square root of nice. So I'm going to rewrite x cubed. That's the same thing as saying x squared times x to the 1st. Hopefully you guys agree, because x squared times x to the 1st, if you add the exponents, is x cubed. So all I did was rewrite that. Okay, now I can actually go ahead and work this out. So I'm going to start with the square root of 25. Well, that equals 5. Okay, so I took care of that already. I cannot do the square root of 3, so I'm going to keep that inside my radical symbol. Okay, the square root of x squared. Well, x times x is x squared, so I just did the square root of that. And then x, I can't just do the square root of x, so I need to leave that inside the symbol. So my final answer is going to be 5x times the square root of 3x. Okay, let's try another one. 64 x to the 4th, and then take the square root of that. Well, 64, I know I can do the square root of that right away, which is 8. X to the 4th, I can also do the square root of that. What times what is x to the 4th? Well, x squared times x squared is x to the 4th, so this would be my final answer. Okay, let's try another one. 80x to the 5th. So I'm going to break that up into some perfect squares. So 80, I know 4 times 20 would be 80. And I think there's something a little bit higher. How about 16 times 5? Okay, and then x to the 5th, here's how I'm going to break this up. I'm going to break it up into, usually I look for even numbers, because I can do the square roots of even numbers with exponents. So I can flip this to x to the 4th times x. Remember, that still equals x to the 5th, because there's like a little 1 there. And then if I multiply that out, I would get x to the 5th. So it still equals itself. So now let's go ahead and do the square root of 16, which is 4. Okay, square root of 5, I can't simplify that down. Square root of x to the 4th, what times what is x to the 4th? Well, x squared would give me that. And then I still have that x here. So this would be my final answer. Okay, let's try another one. So I'm going to start by rewriting my 3 here and kind of breaking down the things on the inside. So 40, I'm going to break that down. 10 times 4. Okay, x to the 10th, that's an even exponent already, so I'm just going to leave that. Y to the 6th, again, even exponent, and then z, can't really break that down. So now let's go ahead and work through the things we can take the square roots of. Well, I can take the square root of 4, which is 2. So I'm going to come on the outside, keep my 3, keep my 2. I'm just going to draw my square root symbol. 10 I cannot break down any further, so I'm going to keep that. Okay, x to the 10th. That is an even one. So think, what times what is x to the 10th? Well, x to the 5th times x to the 5th, right? Because 5 plus 5 is 10. So the square root of x to the 10th is x to the 5th. I'm going to bring that on the outside here. Took care of that. Y to the 6th. Okay, so what times what is y to the 6th? Well, y cubed times y cubed would give me y to the 6th. So that's the square root of it. Done with that. And then z, I cannot take the square root of just z. I can't simplify that anymore, so I'm just going to put that inside my radical symbol. So I didn't need it this long. I'll just erase that. So my final answer here is right here, but I should maybe simplify this a little bit more. I just realized I can actually do 3 times 2, which is 6. Okay, and then I still have x to the 5th, y to the cubed, and then times the square root of 10z. So this would be my final simplified answer. All right, let's try one where now we multiply 2 radicals. Okay, so you guys learned, I showed you this earlier today, is you can, when you're multiplying radicals, you can put everything basically inside the same radical. So I can do 5x squared times 10x to the 7th. Okay, I'm going to even rewrite that again. I'm going to do 5 times 10, which is 50. X squared times x to the 7th is x to the 9th. Okay, now once you get that far, you can start breaking it down. So 50, I can break into 25 times 2. And then x to the 9th, I'm going to break that into an even one because I can take the square root of even exponents. So I'm going to rewrite that as x to the 8th times x to the 1st. All right, now I can go ahead and kind of break some of this down. So the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of x to the 8th would be x to the 4th. Okay, and then this would stay inside my radical symbol. So inside my radical, I end up having 2x. And I cannot break that down any further or simplify it any further. So that is my final answer. All right, last one. So again, same thing. When you're multiplying 2 radicals, remember you can rewrite it as the first one times the second one, all inside one symbol. Okay, so now I'm going to do a little bit of work here. I'm going to multiply 3 times 12, which is 36. And then x times x squared would be x cubed. And then y to the 5th times y is y to the 6th. All right, so now let's go ahead and do the things we can take the square root of. Actually, I'm going to rewrite it one more time. So I'm going to keep my 36. Okay, any odd exponent, I really can't take the square root of an odd exponent. So I'm going to break it down so it's got an even. So biggest even there would be x squared and then times x. That would still give me x to the 3rd. And then y to the 6th. That's all right already. Okay, so now square root of 36 is 6. Square root of x squared would be x. Okay, I'll just put this here. I can't do anything with this x. And then the square root of y to the 6th, well, y cubed times y cubed is y to the 6th. So this would be my final simplified radical. All right, so now you're going to actually try some of these. If you do have questions, please reach out to your teacher. Thanks and have a great day.